Hey guys, welcome back to another Monster Firestorm video, and today we're going to be talking about the evolution of all Monster video games, so let's get right into it. So the first ever Monster video game was Maximum Destruction video game, released in 2002. It was a video game that I actually played before. It's a pretty good video game, but also kind of a bad one. It was definitely, but for its time, it was really good. I mean, they had quite a good variety of a selection of trucks you could choose from. The racing, the physics were kind of okay for the first ever video game for Monster Jam, but it was kind of bad, kind of poor at the same time. It just wasn't the game that we were all looking for, and I feel like they definitely could have done a lot more. The racing was just like, the physics were just the worst. I mean, actually, I'm just gonna be really honest right now, the physics were the worst ever, and I just can't do it anymore. It's just the worst game ever. Next video game is the video game that was released in 2003, Monster Jam Monster 4x4 Masters of Metal. Now this game was just, I don't know how to put it, but it was a shocker. It was just not the video game. I mean, the first game in 2002, Maximum Destruction video game, that was like, just like really bad. But I mean, this game was just, it was not the best follow-up, and I feel like they could have just definitely done a lot better with the first video game. I mean, the physics and everything didn't really change that much, and it was just terrible in general. Next game is the Monster game from 2007, The Path of Destruction. That's one of the most popular video games of its time. It added a lot of cool trucks in the game. It also had a lot of trucks that were kind of old, like Bulldozer, had the Destroyer, it had Gravedigger, Ultra Loco, a lot of other trucks. Of course, Maximum Destruction had to be in there, and a lot of other cool trucks. I feel like the game was kind of good for its time. It was actually really good, but at the same time, it just wasn't the game that I think everyone was looking for. But it was still, it was good for its time. I feel like the game definitely could have added a couple like upgrades to it. Again, that all came into play later on in the years, like in nowadays form, where we get way better quality. That quality changed in the next year, which was 2010, Monster Path of Destruction. Now, this is one of the better video games, I feel like, in my opinion. It was definitely the game that kind of sprung my like for Monster. I mean, I kind of liked the game. It was okay. I played it before. Like, I've seen video clips and played it once or twice, and it was okay. But the thing I liked the most was the menu screen was kind of cool. But other than that, the game was also not that good. The game started to perform a little bit better in 2016. Actually, no, a little bit later. But Path of Destruction was the next game that they released, of course, which I just talked about from 2010. The game was, it was alright. I mean, the game itself, the cover here, you guys can see the cover of the games has Gravedigger, of course, has Gravedigger. The physics were actually quite okay, but again, that all changed. The physics got a little bit better each game, of course, moving on and on. They added a lot of cool trucks, I guess, in my opinion. I like it. You guys here can see, you guys have Dalmatian, Black Stallion, there was a lot more. The tracks were actually really decent, though. I have to say, the tracks were definitely just amazing for this game. That's the thing that I liked the most when I played it. I did play before. I love the game. If I ever could play it again, I would. I just like it. It was definitely one of the best Monster video games at the time, and I feel like they kind of progressed up from there. The next game is the game that almost everyone hates. I believe that this was the one, Monster Jam Crush It. No one actually, at least what I've heard, no one likes this game. This is definitely one of the worst rated games ever in history, or maybe the worst rated game of history for Monster Jam. Monster Jam Crush It. This was definitely one of the worst video games ever. I don't really want to say too much else, but this is the cover. You guys can see Monster Jam, and it just says Crush It on the top. This is, I believe, the first ever video game to have Max D in it, which is actually kind of cool. Here was one of the customization options that we actually got in the game. I think that's what a lot of people overlooked, is that there were a couple cool things about the game, like the customization options. But that was the only really big thing that everyone kind of misses from that game, that, again, in the future they didn't have yet. But the customization option was definitely the thing that really sprung this game into its love for the Machamp fans, and I feel like it was still an okay game in general, but not that good. Next up is the more recent game, Monster Jam Steel Titans, the first ever edition of Monster Steel Titans, released in 2019. This was one of the most realistic Monster Jam games. Now, not realistic, but it was definitely one of the... It was the game that we were kind of looking for. I mean, it got announced in 2018, I believe, and it was a shocker. It was really good. I feel like the physics were okay. The trucks themselves were fantastic, and that also led up to the second release. They did release a sequel with Monster Truck Titans 2. Of course, in the first one, you guys can see here, they added a couple DLCs, like a DLC for the fire and ice trucks. The game itself, the Steel Titans 2 didn't really upgrade too much for the physics. It kind of got not worse, but it stayed the same, got a little bit better, but not that much. Steel Titans and Steel Titans 2 were not the games that we were fully looking for, but they were better received than all the other games. It definitely got a lot of positivity and positive feedback. The maps in general were fantastic. Like this plane map here, you can drive over like a wrecked plane, like parking lot or whatever you want to call it. It was fantastic. Loved the maps for the first game. And the second game, which was the sequel that came out in 2021 this year, you guys saw a lot of videos I made about that game. Steel Titans 2 was the sequel, and it was also the best thing that they could have done. I love the game. I think the second one is definitely a step up from the first one. They added so many new trucks. That was the big thing that everyone was looking for at the beginning. They added a lot of new trucks like Backwards Bob, Octonator, which was Spin Master original, whatever. They also added higher education into the game, which we were looking for like forever. They also constantly came out with new updates to the game. The people that worked on the game were just like amazing people. They took the community's feedback and stuff. Not feedback, but they took the community's ideas, like adding new trucks. For that, they took those ideas and put them into the game. They added a lot of new trucks that we've never gotten before, like Monster and Junkyard Dog. They had DLCs like this one here, the Gold and the Inverse trucks. That was just probably one of the coolest things of the game's history. A lot of people loved the Inverse Truck DLC. I like the Inverse Truck, so it kind of fits into the diecast. They brought a lot of cool things like the diecast into the game, like the Inverse, and a lot more. The tracks as well, they had really cool maps. The maps in general were just some of the best maps I've ever seen in a Masha game. The colors, the atmosphere that the game had, it was insane. For graphic wise, like everything other than the physics was phenomenal. The game Steel Titans 2 was amazing, and I really want to thank this. Oh my god, I can't even speak, bro. This game was amazing. So I want to thank THQ Nordic for making such a fantastic game for us. And that is the history of all Masha video games ever made. So I want you guys to let me know in the comments down below what your favorite game is out of all the games I showed. Hope you all enjoyed. I will probably be making more video game videos in the future. And yeah, hope you all enjoyed. More videos coming soon. And yeah, that's all I have to say. This is Monster Jam Firestorm. Signing out. Like and subscribe. Goodbye.